Welcome back to It Is What It Is. I'm Treasure Wilson, aka Stat Baby, along with your hosts Mace and Cam.
Killer, what's going on? How you doing, man?
I'm good, Murder. What's good? How you today, bro?
Really, really good. You, Stat, how you doing?
I'm great.
That's good. You got your leopard on.
Yeah. Well, this is cheetah, I think.
Oh, cheetah.
I think so. I think leopard's a little bit different. We like cheetah. I like animal prints. Looks cool. Personally. Okay, so Tracy McGrady spoke on why older players constantly criticize modern NBA players. He said, it's the money. Did you realize in the 90s, Reggie Miller and Michael, they were only making $2 to $3 million and they were the top guys? It's the money. So Mace, do you agree with Tracy McGrady? Do you think he's right? And does it change how you view players currently, knowing how much money that they're actually getting?
Not really. When I first started, everything, I understood it how I understood it at the time. Now that I look at it, I think we're just in a different day. Like, to hold somebody to older standards without them being in that time, let alone growing up in that time, I think it's going to be hard to hold somebody to something they don't know about, right? So many times we get on here and we ask you questions. You don't even know about these things. These things are paramount to us. They're consistent to us. They're in our DNA, but they're not in your DNA. And if something is not there, pause. It's just asinine to think they would even know where to start with it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I agree with Mace, and I agree with Tracy McGrady, actually. Mace made a great point right there, but I think to Tracy McGrady's point, older players are probably like, man, you know what I would have did for motherfucking $111 million a year? I think that's where he's coming from when he says that, because he's correct. You think about that. Michael Jordan was talking about how he was getting $30 million only on his last few years when he's doing one-year contracts, and they was playing all 82 games, or at least playing 90% of the season. So they sit there and say, look at all this money these players are making, and then they say, man, we was doing this for a fraction of what they're making today. So maybe that's where the hate is coming from with what I think that Tracy McGrady's trying to explain, because the way Tracy McGrady said it, it didn't look like he was one of the people hating. Looked like he was one of the people saying why they're hating. And the reason that they're hating is because they're getting a fraction of the money that players are making today. It wasn't any load management. It wasn't all the private jets and flying around and staying in luxurious hotels that players are getting today, and they're getting the money. And to Mace's point, oh, well, that ain't our fault. It's not our fault that our birth certificate is not the same time as your birth certificate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to realize it happens constantly, generation to generation. We had to hear shit that our parents or grandparents did that we'd be like, oh my God, I'm tired of hearing. I know sometimes when we ask Stat, I just do it for our audience. I know Stat should know some of the shit that we ask, but it's kind of ridiculous that Sin would get mad at Stat for not knowing Webster. I find it crazy that Sin gets mad that Stat doesn't know who Webster is, because Webster was 1984. Like, Webster was 18 years before Stat. How would she know who Webster is? He got mad she didn't know Alf. How would she know Alf, my nigga? So, you got a TV, right? Stat don't watch TV.
Yeah.
She watch apps.
I don't even know where she would go to watch Alf. And when I'm thinking about this, honestly, Wilt Chamberlain was making about $75,000 when he scored 100 points. He wasn't even making 100 bands when he scored 100 points, and he didn't even have the 3-point line. So this is crazy. They bumped his salary up to 100,000 after he scored 100. So this is just paramount to think about. Even thinking about what Tracy McGrady is saying, everything is relevant, right? So just think about the money they was paying us, Killer, to rap the way we were rapping. Now you see niggas doing $1 million a night in concert. We're not hating on them. So I think the hate gotta stop. Realistically, it's just everything is relevant. At that time, 100 bands was a lot of money. In 69, 100 bands was $2 million. It was 30. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was a lot of money at that time. Just like when people say, I used to work for a quarter. Well, back in that day,
A quarter will take you far.
Yeah, a quarter would take you far. It's all relevant. I forgot who told me that, but whoever said that, thank you for sharing it. I hate that I'm not able to quote you right now, but I remember one of the greater NBA players of the past said that. He said the money was relevant. And today, $30 million is what it is today. But back then, $30 million probably was about 6 or 5. You know what I'm saying? It was stupid money. You know, like today you look at it as like crazy money to those people who think so. So it's relevant to the times.
Yeah.
We'll go, 10, 20 years from now, and it'll be like, oh, this guy's coming out of college getting $1 billion. And we'll say, they'll be like, man, that's crazy money. And then they'll be the same people arguing about the money at that time. All it says, Tracy McGrady, is you should have done more while you was playing. This is all it says. It says for all of us, right? Even when I'm rapping, think about the time you took off. You should have done more with your time. That's all it says. So I'm not just saying this to him. I'm saying it to me and everybody else that'll make that remark. Do more when it's your time, so you don't have to be hating on somebody else when it's their time.
It's a general conversation too, and I know that a lot of people have thoughts on this, but I want to ask y'all, if 90s players made today's modern players' salaries, do you think that people would be acting differently? And then same for entertainment. Like, do you think that, because I know you're saying it's reflective of the times, relative of the times, but do you think like money is to the point where people act super differently, especially seeing the salaries that we're seeing these modern players have?
I think it's all relative. Now that I heard that word, I can't unhear it because my mother made $500 a week. My stepdad, we thought he was balling and he made a rack a week, right? $50,000 in the 80s was like, you really had, they would say, oh, he has a great job. You know what I'm saying? This is a keeper. $50,000 a year, you better keep him and you better do well by him. You know, today, if somebody said, hey, your boyfriend make $50,000, girl on Instagram is gonna go, oh, $50,000. Who makes $50,000? You know, if you say that today to a young lady, 18 years old, she's like, oh, my part-time job, I make $50,000. You know, it's all relative to the time. So I think if they were getting that money back then to the greats, I don't think the money would have changed them. I think they were driven by something greater. I put myself in that category. I put Killer in that same category. I put Biggie. I put Hov. I put everybody, Nas, everybody I could think of, Busta Rhyme, anybody you could think of that's somebody you're not excluded, Redman, all the people I looked up to. And I thought that whether the money was there or not, they would have been that same artist. Yeah, it was the passion that they were driven by. Yeah. And that doesn't make Hov not an excellent artist, but that wasn't the person I looked up to. So all the rest of them was people that I got stuff from. Method Man. I think Method Man would have been the same artist whether he made the money or not, because they were driven by what they were driven by.
Good take. Cam?
And what's this question exactly?
Yeah, basically, if 90s players made today's salary, do you think that they would act different? And then Mace also went into kind of like entertainers and music and things now. Do you think
stated entertainment.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
I asked you that. Like, you answered that perfectly.
Yeah.
But I'm also clarifying. That's how we also got there, too. But that was great. So, Cam, what's your opinion on that?
When you say act different, what do you mean exactly?
Like, do you think that they would act differently than modern players? Because I know we're going into the conversation of like, okay, I don't want to say they're being disrespected, but people feel as if because these players are making this certain money, I have this expectation, or they should be tougher, or they should move different. Like, yes.
They're very disgruntled with today's athletes because of the money they make. Do you think they will move different, perform different on the court? What's your take?
Yes.
I don't think that they would. I think Mace is correct. It was about winning, not just sports-wise and whatever you was trying to do. You want to be a winner. If you're talking about as far as the money they would make, I think everybody acts a little different when they make more money. I don't think nobody's the same person. Not saying that morally you're not the same person, but you're going to go out and get a car. I'm not going to say, John F. Kennedy may have still took the train and shit, and the Kennedys and shit. But it depends on your environment, too. When you come from a poor environment and not having a lot, and then you get a lot, you're going to act different. If you're talking about as far as success and being motivated to win, that's really what it's about. Now, the money is always key, but you want to win. That's what it's really about. And I don't care what you're in. Mace just went to the awards the other day. I told him I'm not going. They're not going to put the camera on me if we lose. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to win. And sometimes people bring you places to embarrass you to show that you're the most popular person there and you didn't win. But congratulations. We didn't talk about it, too, that we won the award.
Yeah.
Mace. That was dope.
Yeah.
Congratulations. But yeah, I'm motivated by winning and the money being, don't get me wrong, motivated by money as well because you want to make sure you live a comfortable life. But I think that you want to be the best that you could be in whatever you're doing.
Second that. Okay, so now let's go to some of these games. We're going to go to the Hawks. So the Hawks have actually won 15 of their last 17 games overall, and their past 12 games at home. They just beat the Celtics 112-102. Mace, do you think more people should be putting the Hawks on their radar?
I love what the Hawks were able to do in the trade. Pause. It looks like they're a season away, right? I wouldn't say it's on my radar today. But in a close near future, the Hawks will be really special. They will be really special. I think they're on the brink of something good, but they have to keep working at it. I'm not ready to put them on my radar. I'm done with the mediocrity. Not that they're mediocre. Well, let's just stop apologizing. They're not ready to be on the radar. Just straight up. It's too much apologetics.
I think that the Hawks are really good. Are they going to make noise in the playoffs? I don't think so. A team that I would pick more than the Hawks to pay attention to is the Charlotte Hornets. I think what the Charlotte Hornets are really doing is incredible. With Melo already being a crowd favorite, they can nipple. To me, that's my rookie of the year. And then they have 2 40-point wins this season. I would put the Charlotte Hornets on the radar more than the Hawks, but I'm not going to sit there and ignore since Kuminga got to Atlanta that Atlanta's been balling. They've been looking great since the All-Star break. I don't know what happened between Kuminga and Kerr to where their relationship was unpreparable, but I always looked at a person like Kuminga, super duper young, won a championship, even though he wasn't part of the championship as far as playing that much. But he knows what it's like to win a championship and be around the championship. And I thought if he worked on his game in the offseason, he could be one of them players. He's very athletic, tall, lengthy, etc. So I do like Jonathan Kuminga on the Hawks. But I am agreeing with Mason, not just yet. We have to see what happens next season. That's not a team that I'm going to put on the radar for this season. Moving forward with the playoffs probably 2-3 weeks away, less than 2-3 weeks away.
Okay. And then I know we were having this long conversation about missing pieces, so now I'm going to bring this back. But instead of the Knicks, we're going to talk about the Timberwolves. So Anthony Edwards made his return to the Timberwolves in a 124-94 blowout to the Mavs. Do you think the Timberwolves are missing a piece, Mace?
Yes, of course. We know that the Timberwolves are missing pieces, right? Pause. They're not just missing a slasher. They're also missing a big man, right? They need somebody that can interrupt everything that comes down the paint. Pause. There's so many bigger players in the West Coast. When you think of Chet, you think of Joker, you think of even LeBron for that case. You need somebody to guard all of these players that are going to be attacking the rim profusely, and they just need that as well as a slasher. So they need two pieces. I think sometimes we say they need one, but they really need two.
So it makes you not respect the Rudy Gobert? That's what you're saying? I don't mind. I'm just asking.
Yeah, ever since the thing he pulled with the what was that, with the COVID joke. He haven't been the same since.
Yeah, I think that they need another player. This is probably the third time we talked about this in the last week. We don't know who's the second option on the Minnesota Timberwolves. So yes, they definitely need another piece.
Okay.
And that's why I think they need three pieces, cause if you're not sure who the second piece is, and there's two other players that should be the second piece, that lets you know. That's what I'm thinking. I would need three pieces.
So not one, not two, but I need three.
Because sometimes people have been playing together so long and not winning that even if you add a third person, it still won't be the right chemistry. You'll still have to trade that player. It's something about losing with people that ruins the morale of the people that are losing together that is not the same when you're winning. So I think because they've lost so much together, I don't think they'll win together with one piece. I rethought my thinkings.
Okay, and then another team that has a missing piece right now, we know Cade is out. So in overtime, the Pistons actually lost to the Thunder 114-110. So Mace, what's your opinion on the Pistons so far without Cade?
All right, so let's think about it. The Cade Cunningham not really being there, I don't like this team without Cade. I don't think they're definitely to do anything but lose either in the first round or the second round. I don't want to go as far as the second round. I want to just stay right there in the first round. I think this team is not good without him. He brings so much to the team. Not that the other players are not good in their own perspective positions, but it's something about, like I was talking about, people you win with. When you don't have those pieces of people you win with, it changes the morale of a team. That's why people, when they start winning or they go to different teams like LeBron used to do, he say, let's see if we can get this person. Let's see if we can get that person. Because after you won so much, you know who you're going to win with. It's just, I won't say it's just a feeling, but it's definitely a feeling about winning. It's like an album coming out. You know if that album is going to do well. It's a feeling. Anytime somebody's ever done well, there was energy around it. And I think this team, with losing Cade Cunningham, it took a lot of energy out. So the quicker he gets back, the better this team is. But to think about a future without a person that your whole future has been built around is kind of asinine.
Yeah, I don't think. Listen, if you want to take a silver lining out of the game last night, that you won the overtime with the NBA champions and you only lost by 5 points, but I agree, you're not going to go anywhere without Cade Cunningham. You're not just talking about a regular player. We're talking about a MVP finalist, somebody who was taking this. It's so sad because I like the players who you can see their emotions on their sleeve and they're doing great. Like when we see Wemby and he talks about, why am I not the MVP? I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm scoring, I'm playing defense. He's throwing shots, subliminals at niggas. I like that. And Cade Cunningham, to me, it may not be vocal, but when you see him going to Madison Square Garden and looking at Spike Lee and looking at the crowd like, yeah, fuck y'all thought. It's my turn. It's heartbreaking to see this injury happen to him with the Pistons, man, because I thought the Pistons gave the Knicks a really good run for their money last year. They were young and inexperienced in the playoffs. And I thought this year that they may have had the Knicks number in the playoffs if they ran into the Knicks. So it's sad to see. But as far as the Pistons doing anything without Cade, that's just not going to happen. But if we're talking about the game from last night, I guess you could say we didn't have Cade and we only lost by 5 in overtime to the defending champions.
Okay, so out of some of the players that we've seen come back from injuries, such as Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, and J-Dub, Mace, whose return do you think made the most impact to their team?
Say it again.
So between Jason Tatum, J-Dub, and Anthony Edwards, because we've seen them come back from injury, whose return do you think makes the most impact to their team or has made the most impact?
That's a really good question because I think all of them were necessary to come back. So it definitely wouldn't be J-Dub. It would have to be between Anthony Edwards and I would say Anthony Edwards because with Tatum, you're saying who made the most impact?
Whose return made the most impact, and then who do you think makes the most impact to their team? So it's kind of two questions.
I would say Tatum and Anthony Edwards.
Okay.
Because when it comes to the team, this team was competing Boston in winning, right? I never thought I would like a Boston team growing up as a Laker fan, right? You just hated Boston. It no matter who was on the team. But it seems like with Tatum back, they have really championship aspirations with Tatum back. It's a foregone conclusion. They were already looking like they could win the East without him. So with him back, I think it takes them to a whole nother level. But I think the excitement is definitely back in Minnesota when they get Anthony Edwards back. Because without him on the floor, it's like a real blue-collar city without him on the floor. He brings so much flair to the city. And when you got people walking over, like Killer was talking about, in that glass walkway, and people are walking to games, I'm not walking to that game in the cold to see Rudy Gobert and Randall. But people will come out for Anthony Edwards. So I think he makes a lot of impact to that team. I wanted to answer both questions.
Yeah, I think Mace is correct. If you're talking about who's going to make the most impact, not saying winning. The question is impact, right?
Yes.
There's no impact without Anthony Edwards. And I wouldn't say the biggest impact yet. You know what I'm saying? Boston was number 2 without Jason Tatum majority of the season. OKC has been number 1 without J-Dub majority of the season. You got Anthony Edwards out. All bets are off for everything. So if you're talking, I'm not going to say it's impact because he only played 1 game coming back to where J-Dub's on his 2nd or 3rd game. Jason Tatum been back for over a week, maybe closer to 2 weeks. But I'm not going to go off the 1 game impact so far. This is a great game to come back. You're playing against Dallas. They already eliminated out the playoffs. Nobody cares about Dallas. So if you want to test where you're at, that's a great team to test where you're at as far as your injury is concerned. But it's nothing going to happen in Minnesota without Anthony Edwards. So my answer would be Anthony Edwards.
Okay. And then we got to get to Paul George. So we see that he's made his return. And last night versus the Heat, he scored 19 points, but the Sixers actually lost to the Heat 119-109. So we're talking about making waves, seeing things happen. I guess hypotheticals. But Mace, if everyone on the Sixers was healthy, I know you're laughing, but could they be a problem? And how do you feel about them right now? And even just Paul George making his return after that suspension.
You said if everybody was healthy.
Yes.
Joel Embiid played.
That's what I'm saying. But if everybody was healthy.
What do you mean was healthy if they're on the floor? I'm kind of lost.
Because it's towards the end of the season now, but from what we've seen throughout the season, because we've had suspensions, we've had injuries. If everybody was healthy, how much of a problem do you think that they would be?
Not much of a problem.
Okay, got it.
I don't think that Philly would be much of a problem. It's just something like I said about the energy. It's something about the connection that just never connected in Philadelphia. Even when they've had great pieces, right? I'll go all the way back to Markelle Fultz with Simmons and Joel Embiid. It was trust the process. Then they switched that up, got another 3. Then they got Doc Rivers. It's always been a good 3 people they had. They had James Harden with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Then they switched that up. Now we got Paul George with Maxey and Joel Embiid. Well, the common denominator that was there for all of the debacles were Joel Embiid, but nobody will put him in the equation. It's something about your leaders when their mind are focused and when they're going in the right direction. You would need his mindset to change in order to change this franchise. No matter who you bring in there, they're always going to be playing second to Joel Embiid. So if everything is second to Joel Embiid, he has to change. It doesn't matter if they were injured or not. To your question, or would it be different if he was injured? No, because Joel Embiid would be the same.
And ask me the question stat one more time, please.
Basically, if everyone was healthy, and I know we're seeing their return, like Maxey, Embiid, Paul George still lost to the Heat. Do you think that they would have been a problem, or are you kind of just over the whole process thing as a whole for the Sixers?
The process has been over. Everybody's over the process. It's about do what you just whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I think Mason just had an absolutely phenomenal take what he just said. You thought about this, when Paul George got there. You said, okay, Paul George is there, but Mace made a great point. There's been a lot of niggas there, and they still haven't got over the hump. Ben Simmons was there, and he's a 3-time All-Star before whatever happened to him happened to him. But whatever. What I will say is this. He had 19 last night, and in his return game, he had like 25, 10, 9. He had some phenomenal numbers, Paul George I'm talking about. I don't know where he went to see for mental health, but whoever helped him out, he should tell people about it. He came back, busting ass.
Yo, killer. Yeah. He did. I don't know what he did, but share those tips.
He came back. Look, it's two things, right? He either got some real help and got his game back on point, or he tired of niggas playing with his name. I'm not saying that's going to equate to wins, because you have to win, but he came back looking like a little bit of like Paul George his last 2 games back. I'm like, okay, that's the nigga that niggas been liking. But is that going to equal out to wins? Is it too late to get chemistry moving into the playoffs if they make the playoffs? It's a lot of ifs, because when you think about this, that's why I think Mason's take was so great, is because when you hear the names, you think, okay, they should be dominant in the East. And none of these names ever worked out. We got to stop going off of what's the names on the roster and when they're going to produce. Because if you think about it, right, you got a healthy Paul George, you got a healthy Joel Embiid, you got a healthy Tyrese Maxey, you got a great rookie with Edgecombe. They should be making some noise, but then you lose to the Miami Heat. I don't know if it's too late this season to have chemistry to make a run, but I'm not, I got more faith in the Knicks than the Sixers, and that should tell you something.
Yeah, it seemed like they just don't know how to win, right? You remember just different teams. They used to bring in Phil Jackson, or they say, oh, if this team get this kind of coach, they need to learn how to win. I think Philadelphia doesn't know how to win. I'm going to go on the record. They don't, because when you got talent on the floor, it's like an all-star game. When you got a superstar with a superstar, you know the role you need to play to win. You start playing together, and you start making passes. You know what it take to win. The man that's open pass the ball. But that's not how Philadelphia plays. They play like, oh, I'm supposed to get this many shots. Oh, I'm supposed to get this many looks. Instead of, this guy is open. Give him the ball. This guy's under the basket. Go pass the ball down low first, and then let it come back out. They refuse to play that way. So until they learn that, Joel got to be inside the box. He got to be at the foul line, and dump the ball inside, and then play around that. That's why he's dominant. When you bring him out to the perimeter, it changes the whole dynamics. It's like, if people love to see big men shoot threes, but if I'm 6'1" at the point and the big man is now at the top of the perimeter, where are you, PT? Where are you, Killer? Where does that send us as a point guard? Are you now on the box? Are you required to do a fadeaway like Kobe from the box now? He got you looking crazy, because he could do more now.
Yeah. You said they don't know how to win, and then Cam says, I trust the Knicks more. So we're at the bottom of the barrel with
He
the
said he
Sixers.
trusts the Knicks more? I missed that one. Killer, you trust the Knicks more?
Trust the Knicks more than 76ers. So that's enough said right there.
That's crazy.
Bottom of the barrel.
Yo, Paul George, y'all better turn this around. Killer is saying he trusts the Knicks more. I've never heard Knicks and trust together ever in my whole life. And you know I'm not a spring chicken. So listen, that's crazy, Stat. Trust and the Knicks. More than
The Sixers.
Philadelphia.
It's just all there. I don't know. They're gonna have to figure it out. They got a lot going on. They've been trying. It's just like you said, the process is done. Paul George was the GOAT. Like, we just got a lot of things that just went.
Wait, so Paul George is not the GOAT no more, even to the young guys?
I don't know.
Killer, not even to the young boys? You gonna just snatch the title from the young boys too?
You would have to ask the young boys. He was never the GOAT for me. So you have to ask the niggas.
Yeah, we gotta put a call out to Melo. That's your guy, and ask Cayenne, because Cayenne, he was the one that said it. So
it isn't just us who's saying, like, it's younger players that saying Paul George was the GOAT. We had a bunch of people that played basketball, coached basketball, etc. Like, even just off the top of my head, thinking about Mark Jackson. Shout out to my man Mark Jackson. We miss you, bro. When he was on the show and we told him about this, he said, news flash in. Verbatim, he said, news flash in. Paul George was never the GOAT. So don't get mad at me. Get mad at other niggas, because people seem to tend to get mad at me when it's everybody knows this. Maybe not the younger players, but when you have people who play, coach, agents, etc., saying this, why are y'all not running down literally, why are y'all mad at Cam? What are you mad? Niggas be mad at me out of the 999 people saying this. Fine, Cam. He said it. Leave me alone. Everybody knows this.
But you know why they're getting upset? They're getting upset because they value our opinion more than just other analysts. And that's what it really boils down to. I remember when I got a text from one of the boxers and he said that, not a text, but like a DM, it's really just correlating that, you know what, you guys, your opinion matters a little bit more than other guys that may be perceived bigger than us or more seasoned than us, because they look at you and I like we possess a ear of the culture and everything that goes into it. It's not just basketball. You're messing up my basketball and my hip hop look. And that's how they look at it. And I didn't think about it like that, but that was a good point.
Well, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Mace. It's like when we had the thing we first started with Patrick Beverly, and he correlated. I said we talked about basketball, and he went straight to paid in full.
Yeah.
Yo, I thought the nigga was paid in full. The thing about that, Mason, I understand where you're coming from. Where you say they think about it because our word means more than them. I got a job to do. You're not the GOAT. I'm sorry that you don't like my albums no more, but you can't come to a show. I got a job to do. You're not the GOAT. If we say you average a single, you average a single. If a nigga tell him, listen, man, I may have an attitude, nigga be like, yo, that album is whack. That shit trash. What I'm gonna do? I can say the same thing they say. You know what I'm saying? I may have and be like, yo, fuck niggas. They got the right to do that too. But that don't mean that you didn't have 3 points and 2 rebounds last night. That's not debatable. When it's a numbers game, it's not debatable. So because you like my album or you like what I played in a movie, I'm supposed to not see you have 3 points and 2 rebounds.
Yeah. And as we make evolution and we start to be different people, newsflash, people have the right to say what they like. Somebody could say, I like Murder Mace. I don't like Pastor Mace. They could say they don't like Dreadlock Hove or they don't like Skinny Rick Ross. You know, as we change as people have the right to say what they like. I don't listen to that. I listened to Mace when he was wilding. I don't like the conservative. You know, there's people have the right to say what they like, right?
Yeah.
And they have the right to say what they don't like. I don't get mad when people say that. That's what my son and different people have told me that. Hey, these are the people I listen to. I said, why would you start with that, though? And they separate the artists from the times that they change. Like, I don't like this version of this person. I like this version of this person.
Yeah.
That's their choice.
Yeah. So I know y'all both basically say y'all have a job to do and people have the right to like it or not like it. But since entering this media space, do you ever feel like you have to be more cautious when you give takes on certain people and players, or do you genuinely just don't care because you feel like you're doing your job?
No, and that goes to the point of what I just said. When you think of a more healthy Rick Ross, so you think of a more conscious Jay-Z, or you think of a more spiritual Mace, no matter how different they are, people still have the right to not like that. And as they grow, they're going to talk more in a different perspective than the perspective before. But should they say what's true to them every single time? I wouldn't change my take for somebody else. If that's what I believe, that's what I'm standing on. I'm saying exactly what I believe. And people be like, yo, Mace, how you come up with that? Because that's what I came up with, bro. It's not for me to say what everybody else is saying. Then there's no use for me being here. I think it's only powerful when you're being yourself and you're saying what you truly believe. I think is lame to just sound like a parrot and just say what everybody else is saying.
Good points.
And can you repeat the question, Stat?
Yeah, basically, since entering this media space, do you ever feel like you have to be cautious with your takes, or are you genuinely at peace and you're just like, I don't really care, I have a job to do and I have to say what I got to say?
What you think, Stat? Do I be cautious with my takes? Do I see?
Cautious is not really in your vocabulary, but I like to hear it from the source.
Do I ever seem cautious? do I ever be like, maybe since we did this show 3 times, I said, let's be cautious. Like, no, like me, listen, man, like I said, I'm not here to fake friends. You know what's funny is that I watch ex-NBA players who do this, analyze games, even football, right? I watch ex-football players or ex-NFL or ex-NBA players who now analysts, and they're analyzing. I seen Kendrick Perkins, shout out to Kendrick Perkins. Yeah. I seen Kendrick Perkins last year at the Cup, 2 years ago, not the Cup that just passed. And first thing he said to me, he was like, yo, what's up, big dog? Yo, fuck these niggas. Keep saying what you gotta say, because I'm gonna keep doing it, nigga. I like what you be saying. First thing he said when we met each other, because he talks about how LeBron James doesn't speak to him anymore. And him and LeBron James came up in high school playing with each other because he gives certain takes. This is Kendrick Perkins saying this, that he doesn't speak to him anymore, or how he's lost friends that used to be teammates because he has a job to do and criticize, or not just criticize, I would say critique the games on how he sees it. He's talking about how he's lost a multitude of friends, you know what I'm saying? I've seen Tony Romo say something as an analyst in the NFL, and he referenced something to Deion Sanders. Shout out to my guy Deion Sanders, what up, big homie? And then Deion Sanders had to get on Twitter, Instagram, and be like, yeah, Tony Romo never liked me because of X, Y, Z, 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 this, that, and the third. But when you get into that space, sometimes you have to say what you got to say, and not just say what you got to say. I've never been a professional athlete. So sometimes people use that as give back, not accusing Tony Romo or Kendrick Perkins of that. But now you may say, yeah, this nigga throws all that. Now I'm going to say what I really feel. I'm going to find all the shit that he be doing wrong that I used to see him do wrong in practice. And now I'm going to reference it to when I get on air. So it's more worse to me for an ex-professional athlete to critique the sport that they used to play, because you lose friends, but now that isn't where your check is. Your check is not playing. Your check is to critique sports. So it is what it is. For me, no, I don't care. I told you several times, I'm not really here to make friends. If I become friends with people along the way, that's great. Absolutely. Think about the time when the Nassers, right? I remember I was at the Cup, and we used to make fun at the Nassers. We're talking about Greek Freaks, brother, all the time. So when I'm at the Cup and I see him, I'm about to walk right past him like, I know this nigga don't like me, because we be saying what we say. And first thing he said, Kim, what's up? I was like, oh, what's up, nigga? What's happening? He's like, I love you. I love the show. What's good? This, that. I was like, okay, nigga, what's happening? This, that, everything. He's like, I don't take none of that shit personal, yo. I'm like, y'all talking about me. It ain't personal. I tell Ben, this is what he said. I tell Ben Simmons, all these niggas, yo, man, that's what they do. It's not personal. And me and him became friends behind that. Because
that's really dope.
That's cool.
About him personal to where he even came on the show. And we act like he was mad and all this other shit. But I was ready to just say, oh, well, you could not be cool, but now that's my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Because he understands this is what we see and this is what we take. And now, like I said before, the reason this show was created is to give an extension of what the niggas in the hood be saying. If you can't
Yeah.
take what me and Murder be saying, don't go to no urban neighborhood in America.
That's for
Just
real.
don't, because we're actually dumbing it down. I talked about it before, and I ended with this, but this was a real story. When I introduced one of my friends to Kevin Durant, he gave my half-ass five. And I asked him what's up, and he's like, nigga fuck my
Cost a
parlay up.
parlay. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a real story. You know what I'm saying?
Nigga hit him
And
with the
that's what
bottom of the palm. Yo, what's up, my
Yeah,
nigga?
yeah. And walked and rolled his eyes and walked off. So at the end of the day, if you're mad at this, listen, you would never be able to take what's going on in urban America where niggas parlays is getting fucked up, where niggas got favorite teams that's not winning for 50 years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, man.
Yeah, I think it's really crazy that people can't take the truth, right? I think that's what it really boils down to. Because if I'm in the gym and I got the ball and you walk in the gym, Killer, and you just hear everybody like, yeah, and somebody's guarding me that you know shouldn't be guarding me, and I try to dribble past him and he smacked the ball like he almost stole it 2 times in a row, you're going to be like, yo, Mace, what's going on? Like, you supposed to say that because he's not supposed to be standing in front of me like that. He's not supposed to be playing defense like that. And that's the commentary that we're giving players, that we're giving you the commentary you should be getting from the people that love you. And if you hear it from them first, then it wouldn't be so harsh when you hear it from us. It's really a awakening that the people around you are not telling you the truth. Yeah. I want people to tell me the truth, just like this thing's Killer tell me that other people don't have the liberty to tell me, and it's good. Like, I'm not a person that's sitting somewhere like, yeah, I don't like this nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's supposed to say it to me, yeah. And every now and then I tell him something that it's just what's supposed to be said. And I think this has a lot to do with these guys being their mother's son. If I could just sum it up. When you're raised by your mom, you're a different man. You're a different boy. And you don't like hearing stuff from other men. Like, that's really one of the biggest issues I see in hip hop and in sports. That you just have a bunch of guys that were raised by their mothers. So they never heard a man's take on what they're doing. So they can't hear it. And then we get upset, Killer. You be like, but he'll listen to his girl. He'll listen to his girl because he was raised listening to a woman. He don't listen to men at all. You'll say he have a problem with authority. No, he just have a problem with men. But if a woman tell him something, she can get him to bring his whole check to her, and it's crazy. So for all of you listening,
that's a really good point, man.
Yeah, niggas is just raised by their mothers. I had a stepfather, you had a grandfather, so you know when a guy say what he said, that's what it is. That's why we carry that. So all they know is tantrums. All they know is attitude and facial expressions. People walk by, you like, why is he making his face like that? Because his mother used to do that. That's how his mother raised him. He's sassy.
Great point. Okay, good convo, y'all. So speaking of being cautious, which, it is what it is, so we literally do say what we want, yeah. But Jaden Ivey was waived by the Bulls for some comments he made. We will discuss what he said after the break. Welcome back. So we were talking about comments. We got more comments to discuss. So the
Yes.
Bulls are waiving Jaden Ivey after recent anti-LGBTQ plus comments on a social media rant. So he actually went live on his Instagram account more frequently in the past week. And on Monday morning, he called out the NBA for promoting Pride Month, saying it celebrates unrighteousness. He also said, the Bulls said my conduct is detrimental to the team. Why didn't they just say we don't agree with his stance on LGBTQ plus? Why didn't they just say that? How is it conduct detrimental to the team? What did I do to the team and what did I do to the players? So there's been various rants. There's one of him calling out Steph Curry. There's one of him on a phone. A lot of them were just on IG Live. But Mace, where do you think is the line between freedom of speech and consequences in professional sports?
This is really powerful, but before we get into that, can you share with me what he said about Stephen Curry?
Yeah, let me get that for you.
Because this is an interesting point because I actually probably know some people that are related to him, not only from Detroit, but just some other areas that paths have crossed. Not that I've actually met him. I would love to speak with him. I probably could add some clarity and context to his life because sometimes you're just echoing the sentiments of people that you've spoken with, people that you've been discipled by, right? So if he's a Christian, then he's probably speaking from a discipleship place. And this is why one of the 3 most important decisions you're going to make in life is going to be the person you marry, it's going to be the faith that you choose, and it's going to be the pastor that you choose to follow, or the synagogue or church or whatever it is, or mosque or anything like that, because this person is going to be speaking into your life every day. And if they're speaking hatred to him, then he's going to speak hatred to the world. If they're speaking balance to him, he's going to speak balance to the world. Just like, for me, I got born again. I heard about Christ, and I didn't want to be around nobody that was pretty much human.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had to learn. I told Killer this when a person first get born again. You really can't watch or pay attention to much of anything they say for just a small period of time, because it's so new to them and it's so fresh that they're trying to live it to the max, which they should, right? But they don't have the balance at that point. It will be the same as becoming a devout Muslim, right? This person now think everybody that is lighter skin is the devil. We know that's not true. We know there's some brown skinned people that are the same way. So when he's going after, from what I'm hearing, if he's going after people that goes with the sponsoring of the league that pays his check, that's what makes it a problem.
Yeah.
It's not just the people he's talking about. The people that he's talking about actually are part of the people that's paying him the money he's getting. So that's why he doesn't understand why he's being fired. Because on this side, you may say, well, this is not righteous, but the same people you're saying is not righteous are paying you the money that you're so righteously celebrating. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. You broke it down actually very
Yes.
well. That was good.
Yeah, so if you want to be just righteous, then you would take the path that's least traveled, and you wouldn't even be a basketball player. If righteousness is what's on your mind and that's all you want to do, then you would just be over here, take your money that you made from the NBA, start your foundation, start your church, and preach exactly what you want to preach. But you're not going to preach Jesus on the LGBT clock while they're partially paying you.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You have a right to say whatever you want to say, but don't ask those that you're calling your enemies to pay for it.
Good breakdown. Okay, Cam, and then I have the Steph quote for if you want me to read it after.
Yes.
I don't even know. What's the question?
Yeah, what's the line between freedom of speech and consequences in professional sports?
They said it during one of his parts, the money. That's what it boils down to. Niggas is paying the check and you dissing this niggas that's paying the check, you're gonna get fired. That's just the way it goes. If niggas, you can't look like you can't. We know who you could talk about, who you can't talk about. You can't talk about certain shit like you used to be able to talk about shit. You just can't, and especially if they're sponsoring what you're a part of, then you can't do it. Some people don't realize that. We talked about Kanye the other day. He just talked about this with Kanye. All right, okay, you're above the law. You're above the program. Guys, say what you want to say. Okay, think you can say whatever you want to say. It costs a nigga $1 billion. You can't just say what you want to say when people are helping you pay your check. So to me, it boils down to the money. That's what it's really about. Because if it wasn't about the money, you'll be able to say what you want to say. That's if you're good, and if you're good, because at the go ahead.
No, go ahead, Killer. I'm waiting on you.
No, I was saying because it ain't even about if you're good. It's about if you fucking the money up, bro. You can't fuck the money up. That's just that. When all that shit was going on, right, with after George Floyd died and the COVID hit, and it was just riots and all that shit. You see how many people was donating to the black community? I don't even know where the money was going in the black community. When do you talk about we got $10 million for the black community? Yo, we want to give $15 million to the. Who is the black community that they give to? They just like we don't want beef with black community because they spend a lot of money with us. We want them to know that we don't have a problem with the black community. We don't accept a cop stepping on a nigga's neck. We're not supporting, and it's the black community. They don't want to lose a lot of their dollars, so they fixed it. Mm-hmm. That was just not fixed it. I don't even know where they said it. They just said they're going to give money to the black community. I don't even know where they thought they was going to get the money to. As long as it's the black community, here, take it. Black people come eat, keep eating bad, keep coming to Wendy's, keep coming to McDonald's. We feed y'all motherfuckers. We don't have a problem with it. It boils down to the money at the end of the day, but when you realize what you can and cannot say. Go ahead, Mace. I know you had something to say.
Oh no, I was really enjoying this conversation because this is where I think we're having a conversation that's undertone is Christianity, right? So in Christianity is supposed to be about living devout towards Christ, right? But so many people are not living devout towards Christ, but they're trying to stand on devout principles. That's the real problem I see in Christianity as a whole, that if you're going to stand there, then you really can't care about the money. In order to be really a devout Christian, you can't be capitalist and Christian at the same time, because what capitalism pull you to do is opposite of what Christianity is. It's going to always fluctuate. This is why you'll see people that are trying, even me in my life when I was first, learning about God. It's like I would do a lot of things that were capitalistic and then say, wait, what am I doing? And then quit in the middle of it, because I understand that capitalism can't be as strong as Christianity. So there's sometimes I just have to say no to something, even though I know it'll make me money for the stance I want to hold to myself. Now, I can't go into someone else's thing and say, oh, you're paying me to do this, and now I want to talk about Jesus all day. If you want to talk about Jesus all day, save up your money and then go and do that, because that's what I do, right? I want to be about that life. So if I want to be about that life, I take the money I make here and I infuse it into the things that I really care about. I don't really care about that as much as I care about that. So then I don't try, but I also don't try to come on here and make everybody Christian. That's not my job. My job is to live the way I'm supposed to live, keep my integrity the way I'm supposed to keep my integrity, and hope that one day my personal expression and my personal lifestyle that you get to see, that Stat get to see, that everybody else get to see someday, say, if you're going through some, hey, Mace, can you pray for me on this? Or Mace, can you talk to me about this? It's not for me to force you there through like belittling you or saying you're stupid or saying you have not found the way. Listen, if your life doesn't minister to me, your words can never minister to me. And I'll just leave it at that. That's what I think people should take from this, because getting fired just to show your faith, because I guarantee you, your pastor wants you to tithe. So now that you're not playing, you won't be able to tithe. You won't be able to help that ministry. You won't be able to push that ministry forward unless you're really willing to stand on that other side. And if you're ready to stand on that other side, don't keep trying to do both unless you're mature enough to do it. I don't think everybody that has faith are meant to do both when they don't have the balance. You need the balance in order to do it. It took me years to get that balance.
Good breakdown. Okay, I want to ask y'all this one more question, because Cam also brought up a point, also talking about like how good you are. Do you guys feel like if he was a superstar, do you think the outcome would have been different for the league, or do you feel like league zero tolerance, like it don't matter? I'm just curious on your thoughts on that.
I don't think if he was a superstar, it would be different because of who he's speaking about. I think we've gotten to this place where we have allowed certain communities to have so much power that it wouldn't have mattered if he was a superstar or not. It's just, these are the people that's paying you. If you want to be able to say that, you do still have freedom of speech, but you don't have freedom of speech while money is still controlling you. To the people that money is controlling them, they don't have freedom of speech. But to the people that money does not control, they still have their freedom of speech. I still have my freedom of speech.
Yeah. Hey, Cam.
Nothing's bigger than the program. Nope. There'll be another superstar coming in 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
That is that.
I like that. Nothing is bigger than a program.
Okay, y'all. Well, in the comments down below, let us know what y'all think about what's going on with Jaden Ivey, his comments, and how the league handled everything. But that is all the time that we have for today. Thank y'all for watching. And as always, it is what it is.